Hello, thank you for tuning in. My name is Andrei Larionov. I am Director of Economical Solutions Corporation. Our company offers unique diamond impact engraving machines in US and Canada. You can find us on the web at www.impactetching.com. This video is mostly aimed at current and future users of our machines, and it talks about the new version of eControl with perimeter walk. eControl is the software that is used to control the etching machines, and it is specifically designed for our machines, so it will not work with any other etchers. So if you're listening to this, the chances are you're a current user of one of our machines. And by the way, I wanted to share one thing. We just passed our 100 installed machines mark in US and Canada. So there's 100 happy users of our machines, both large and small. So this particular video is about the new version of eControl. And the key new feature of that version is perimeter walk. So before I demonstrate it to you in our software, let me first explain what kind of problem does perimeter walk solves. I'm gonna draw with my finger on this touch screen of mine, and it might look quite ugly, but I don't think it matters as long as I'm able to explain the point. So quite often what you have is the situation is you will need to fit a certain etching, quite often it's a portrait or some ornament, into either irregularly shaped monument or into some field or some place where you are constrained by anything else that is there on the stone. For example, you might want to have to etch some kind of flower that would kind of hug the curvature of your stone, and you would need to make sure that this particular that's wrong, we don't do color etching, and you would have to make sure that this particular flower is positioned correctly, this particular ornament is positioned correctly, and that it doesn't slide off the surface of the stone. Obviously you can do that by accurately measuring your starting point and entering the dimensions correctly, but the biggest problem that you face with kind of irregular shaped images and irregular shaped stones is that your etching that you do, your file that you use for etching is rectangular, and the paradigm is how to fit rectangular shape image into your irregular shape monument. So what perimeter walk function does, it would actually move the etching head along the outside perimeter of your future etching. Without etching anything, it will actually walk in a raised position, and at any point of that perimeter walk, you can stop the walk and lower your etching head to check where that particular point on the image will be on the stone. And it allows you to predict with 100% certainty where your future etching will be positioned on the stone. And if during the perimeter walk you recognize that you have positioned your starting point incorrectly, you just adjust either starting point or the size of your image and repeat the perimeter walk. It's a very quick process until you are 100% confident with what you're going to get, and then you just start the etching and you're guaranteed that that's where the etching will be positioned, right? And as I said, I mean, and I wanted to kind of finish the train of thought that I was getting on. The image that you have, and I'm trying to make it as close as possible to real things, so it's black background. Just hold on. Does it even work here? Hold on. Okay. Okay. From some reason I'm not able to draw it. So okay, let me just continue making my point, and this time I'll just do it in black. Okay, so your flower, and actually in real life it will be white flower on the black background. Your flower, it sits in the rectangular shape image, and there might be some, some margins here there might be something else that kind of goes around it, and you are that's one of the reasons you might have problems positioning it correctly, because you position assuming on the size of your image, but your image itself might have a little bit of a margin here, a little bit of a margin there, and then it might come out a little bit too small on your stone. And if you ever used any kind of etching machine, you probably know what I'm talking about. So I will not probably continue explaining it. You know it much better than I do, or the challenges of creating an etching. So that is the major new feature that we have in this version. But that's not the only feature. This new version of eControl has actually been redesigned from scratch, pretty much. We looked at the interface from a user standpoint and thought about how can we improve it in terms of usability and ease of use. We removed some functions that were actually never used by our users, and we simplified whatever we could. We simplified it to the bone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on my machine. You will probably start hearing some static. I'll try to filter it out as much as I can when I'm doing the audio editing, and then I'll show you the actual software. Okay, just give me 20 seconds to turn on the machine. Okay, so the machine is plugged in, connected to my PC. I'm going to start eControl. If you have installed everything correctly using the previous video that I created about the installation of the software, your screen should look approximately like that, and you can actually check that you have a correct version by going into About, and the version should be 3.6.05. Okay. Now the interface is somewhat similar. As I've said, we've simplified it a lot. You probably won't have problems using it. Let's just start with initialization. If you remember, we used to have two buttons. There was a button called Power On, and then there was a button called Initialize. We decided that Power On is kind of redundant because you need to power the machine on before initialization anyway, so we just do it automatically for you. So what I'm going to do, you should be able to see in your right bottom corner the webcam, which shows what the machine is doing. So I'm going to click initialization, and it will basically do initialization without the need to power on the motors, the step motors. Only it will warn you that you need to remove any obstacle from inside of the machine's frame before you do initialization. So I'm going to say yes, and the machine will raise the head and move to the home position. There's just one small caveat I wanted to explain about, and this is a bug which will eventually fix. You will not be able to start the etching process unless you move the etching head a little bit from its home position. Just pay attention to this indicators that I'm going to highlight right now. Hold on, I need to find the drawing tools. So with my highlighter, oh, yellow is not a good idea. Hold on. Okay, so you see this area? You see my laser pointer, if you want. The yellow indicator here shows that the etching head of the machine is actually hitting the end switches. And once you've initialized the machine, I mean, you will end up positioning it anyway. But if you decide that you want to start etching at the very, very home position, before you do so, just move the etching head a little bit away from kind of end position in both X and Y directions by kind of slowly moving it just a little bit until both indicators here become green. So, and that's what I'm going to do now. Just a little bit one direction, and just a little bit another direction until they all turn green, and then it's going to be okay. So another thing that is gone in this version, which we deemed redundant, is there used to be a button that switched the control. I think it was called mode in the previous version. There was a button that switched control from the keyboard on your computer, I mean this area of buttons, to the keyboard on your machine. And we decided also that it's redundant to have in this program because, hey, if I want to move, I mean, I click the button and it immediately should take over control, intercept control from the machine and allow me to position the etching head using my software. So that is gone too. Now, what else? Okay, there's another new feature, is this particular status window, and in this status window we have the etching head, what should we call it? I think we used to call it etching head live estimator or something like that. So basically it shows you the resource remaining on your etching, not head, sorry, etching tip, diamond tip. It shows you the resource remaining on your diamond tip. And basically the way it works, whenever your diamond tip becomes dull and you have changed it, you just click on change needle and it basically resets the hit count for you. And then this feature is actually extremely simple. It obviously cannot predict in any intelligent way when your etching tip needs replacement, because it's a little bit of unprecise science. Some of them last longer, some of them last shorter time, but it will just count the number of hits that you have created with your machine since you last changed the etching tip. And we just basically hard-coded certain number of hits that we think every etching head should absolutely last. And we estimated quite conservatively, so whenever this thing comes down to 0, your etching tip might still be okay, but at least you know that you will need to replace it soon. So just kind of a reminder for you to know when to replace the etching tip. When it comes down to 0, the software will not force you in any way to replace it. You can keep it running even at 0 as long as it etches fine. But you might find this tool useful in terms of estimating when is the next time approximately to change your diamond tip. Now, so this is kind of main screen. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to demonstrate for you the perimeter walk function. And I just have a granite tile here inside of my inside of the frame, so I'll just position it somewhere so that it's visible on this video in the right bottom corner, so that you can see what it's doing. And then I'm going to open our standard test image that gets shipped with the machine, and I'm going to show you how the perimeter walk works. So once I open the file, the etching job parameters is the actual screen where you start your etching. So you click on it, and now this screen is actually, let this progress bar at the bottom run, because it needs some time to estimate the size of your future etching. So the progress bar will, once it's finished, you might, what it actually tells me now is that I cannot fit this image. Yeah, I just put a tile a bit too close there, so the size that by default it selects will not fit within my working field, which is not a big deal. So I'm going to change it to 10 inches here, and okay, 8 inches probably still a little bit too big. I'm going to put something like 5 here, 6, okay, 5. Now it works. Okay. So basically, the way it works, the screen is very similar. You choose the corner of your future image. In my case, I'm choosing bottom left. You might be more convenient with choosing some other starting point. Then you enter the size. Everything works as usual. And then to launch perimeter walk, you go into this area which is called perimeter walk, and you choose either forward walk, which will be clockwise, or reverse walk, which will be counterclockwise. And then there's 3 radio buttons here which will just choose the speed of walk. So you can start at high speed, and then when you come closer to the place where you want to actually see where it will be on the stone, you can slow down. And at any time of the walk, if you want to pause the walk so that you can lower the head closer to the stone to see where the tip of your etching head will be, you can click pause and then use these 2 blue buttons to lower the etching head. Well, in a typical scenario, for example, I'm etching the portrait, and I'm usually most concerned about extreme points, like the most top section of my portrait and like leftmost border of my portrait, to make sure that it does not either does not slide off the stone, or it intrude into some other area where I, for example, have put some lettering, right? So let's assume, like kind of real case scenario, I want to put this portrait, I'm concerned about the top portion of the portrait. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on forward walk. Well, let's choose average speed, and as you can see, I just want to pause so that you can understand what it's actually doing. You see the green cursor here on the left section on the actual preview of the image. At any given time during the perimeter walk, this cursor actually shows you where the etching head is. Etching head basically moves to the same position where that cursor is. So in my case, I want to see where it will be at the very top. I will need to wait until the cursor reaches the very top of the image, and then I'll pause, and then I'll lower my etching head to see better where it is. Okay? So I'm clicking forward walk to continue. Okay, I deliberately overshot that point because I wanted to show you how to go back. So now I overshot my top point. I want to still go back to the very top of this portrait. So I'm lowering the speed to the lowest one, and I'm clicking on reverse walk to go in the opposite direction. Oops. Okay, well, now I kind of more or less caught the point that I want to see there, and now I can come closer to my etching machine and I can lower the etching head. You can lower it all the way down until it touches the stone to better see where that particular point in your future image will be on the stone when you etch it. Okay? Then you can raise it up, and the next kind of problematic place where I want to confirm that it is in the proper position is this right section of my portrait, right? So I'm going to continue forward walk. And I'm going to stop somewhere here, again lower my etching head, confirm that this looks good, okay? And, well, I guess you're getting the idea, right? And once I'm done, to finish this, this perimeter walk, you just click on go to start position, and it will actually, it will move the etching head to the place where I started, right? And at this point, if you're happy with what you saw during the perimeter walk, you can just click start and start your etching. And if you're not happy, what you can do, you can either, even from the same screen, I mean, just move the screen on to the side a little bit, and the main screen will be there. You can position your etching head slightly differently. For example, I want to position it slightly higher, or you can change the size of your etching, or do both, right? And then you adjust a little bit, do another perimeter walk, and do it as many times as you want until you're 100% happy and confident that the etching will be positioned the way you want. Now, as we hear in this screen, there's a couple new features that I wanted to highlight now as well. One is that our software now estimates the time for you to complete the etching even before you started. We didn't have that before. The time was only estimated as you were launching the etching. Now you can see it before you even launch the etching, and it gives you the option of either selecting a different material which might have a lower resolution if you want to speed it up, because resolution is probably the most significant contributor to the time it takes to etch, or you can change the size if you want to make it smaller or larger for your proofs, for example. Another, if you notice, another change versus the old version is that we used to have two tabs here in this screen, one for kind of positioning, one for materials, for selecting material that you etch with. We thought that's redundant, and we just put everything on the same kind of screen. There's no tabs here anymore, and you can choose material that you etch with directly here, and you can also go to the material screen to change the material settings. So oops. Cancel. I hope you'll find this. I hope you'll find this useful. Okay, now I somehow minimized it, so I'll go back to where I was. Another option that I wanted to talk about, because you probably will ask, is the cell mode. Cell mode is a somewhat experimental feature which seems to work quite well. We debugged the best we could, and I encourage you to try it. it does not improve the quality of etching. It's not meant to do that. It's meant to save your time on etching, and it only saves you time on a particular type of etching. And I want to quickly explain how this cell mode works. Okay, I'm going to just clean this canvas so that I can continue drawing with my finger. If you're just doing kind of portrait, okay, if you're just etching the portrait, which, let me choose black. If you're just etching the portrait which has, well, just some shape, some figure, and nothing else, the cell mode will not save you much time. Cell mode helps when your etching combines a lot of black areas. For example, you, again, etching the same portrait, but the portrait is surrounded by a frame, right? And then you, I don't know, decided to put a flower on the side, and then you decided to, I don't know, put some, well, okay, I guess that's a good example already. So in the regular course of etching, what will happen is the etching head will start obviously from the bottom, and it will move left and right, and the software is actually programmed to run over the black areas. So it will kind of etch a little bit here, quickly run over, etch the line on the portrait, quickly run over, and go back, etch a little bit, quickly run over, etch a little bit, quickly run over. But those run overs, they will still require some time. What the cell mode does actually is it will break down your image into cells, into fragments. So it will say, this is the fragment number 1, 2, 3, 4, and the actual portrait will be fragment number 5. And then the etching head will kind of etch everything in fragments, and then kind of they'll be stitched together automatically. It will just kind of start this left bar of the frame, and then it might move over here, quickly do this bar on the frame, might move over here, quickly do this part of the frame, and then it might move over here and quickly do the portraits. And because it saves time on this runovers over black areas, it will likely be faster than the etching that is executed without cell mode. Other than that, I mean, unless you really want to save, like, I don't know, 20, 30 portraits on your etching, don't bother with cell mode. I mean, I encourage you to experiment with it, but now you know when to use it, and you'll decide accordingly. So, thank you for watching this video. Appreciate your business. I guess that's it for now. I'm Andrei Larionov, Director of Economical Solutions Corporation. Thank you.